So just to
Yeah.
be clear, it's going to be me versus Fugi. I'm going to be defending the proposition that Gojo is stronger than Sukuna. Obviously, by me, I mean the GOAT hero to nerd, and my opponent's going to be Fugi here. So do you want the argument?
Yeah.
Okay, so P1, we have defeasible reasons for the proposition Gojo is stronger than Sukuna to be justified. If we have defeasible reasons for for the proposition Gojo is stronger than Sukuna to be justified, then we have higher expectations, or we have a higher expectability rate of the given proposition over its opposition, which would be that Sukuna is stronger than Gojo. And the conclusion is going to be that we have higher expectations of the proposition over the opposition. So do you have any contentions to the argument?
Yeah, just what do you mean when you say like higher expectations?
Yeah, so by higher expectations, I'm just gonna be taking some Bayesian confirmation model, and I'm gonna be saying that when we hold to these giving degrees of credence, we're gonna be saying that we're gonna have this pre-probability, which I'm gonna be an objective Bayesianist. So it's gonna be the case that I'm just gonna be saying we would assume probability, or rather, principle of indifference here, and through that principle of indifference, we would then start
Yeah.
out with point five powers. We would also then assimilate the given deliberation theory with the given evidential model I'm going to be going under here, which is going to be some phenomenal conservatism. If that's going to be the case, it's going to truly follow that. It's going to seem to be the case that within these given models, it's going to converge on the posterior probability that the
Mortify, drop
proposition
down to
is
VC.
having higher hypothesis expectancy than its competitor. Did you get all that?
Yeah. So yeah, I grant that. Granted, you have like these reasons that provide higher expectations. It would follow that Gojo's
Did he cut out or?
did I? Hello?
I mean, you stopped talking. I didn't know if that was like you asking a question or what, but
No. Yeah, I grant the argument that if we have like higher reasons for not higher reasons, just these specific reasons for Gojo being like over Sukuna, then under this like I don't know, Bayesian model or whatever you mentioned, it
yeah.
would
So
follow
you
that Gojo's stronger.
So you grant the conditional, okay, that's fine. So all we need to do is motivate P1, and the motivation for P1 would just be I'm taking some evidentialist account, and under that evidentialist account, I would just be saying that it's going to confirm the we can say conceptual model that I'm going to be implementing when we talk about these type of talks. The talks just being these fictional talks. When we have these manga panels, they're going to be the type of thing which is going to be expected at the rate that I'm talking about, and not so much insofar as the rate that you're talking about.
I didn't hear what you said after you said what should we call it, like evidential basis. Like you kind of like mumbled.
Yeah, I get that. So you said I mumbled. I don't think that's the case. I think anyone in here with a brain could recapitulate what I said, but I'll repeat it to you because I'm trying to be nice. So I didn't
Okay.
say an evidential model. I said evidentialism, which is a type of
Yeah.
justification model. So you need to track. And again, I just said that it's
All right.
going to confirm the given hypothesis that I'm trying to invoke here, which is that we have these defeasible reasons to believe in this given criterion, or we could just say this given like conclusion over your conclusion, which is that Sukuna is stronger than Gojo. And if that's the case, then the
Um.
argument just goes through.
Yeah. Can you just like give me some sort of like pedagogy as to why we have like these defeasible reasons?
You said give some what?
Sort of pedagogy.
Pedagogy?
Yes.
I don't even know why I'd hold to the concept of pedagogies. Can you motivate that concept? Because I could just be some eliminativist about those
Okay.
type
Well,
of concepts. I'm not sure why
a
I'm going
pedagogy is
to
going to be some
grant
sort
them.
of form of motivation. So if you're just
Well,
invoking motivation,
if it's a
then
form of motivation, I don't grant that I need to give motivation insofar as what you're talking about. I could just give motivation insofar as what I'm talking about. So you repeating the
mm,
concept isn't going to
well, yeah,
motivate the
no,
concept
pedagogy
in the
is
conceptual ethics
going to be like
realm. You would need
sort
to
of
give
synonymous
reasons
with
as
motivation,
to
right?
why we should adopt them, or even give some defeasible
Right.
reasons to adopt it.
Yeah. No, pedagogy is just going to be like synonymous with like some sort of motivation, right? I guess I didn't word myself correctly.
If it's a okay, look, listen, you're not like because you're really not listening. If you concede, which you just did, that it is a type of motivation, I agree that there is some like we could just say some
I
like
just misspoke.
pantheon of you did say type by the way, but just to be clear, I can agree that there are some like pantheon of motivations insofar as there's going to be a multiple like
Mhm.
assurance there. And if there's a multiple assurance, I could just say that I'm going to be negating or eliminating that given concept of motivation in favor of some other concept of motivation, like maybe some justification constraint, where I'm going to be taking some confirmation model where we're going to have this convergence of these given data points, and these data points are going to be the type of thing which function in a set to give me some higher confirmation of my conclusion over yours. But you still haven't given reasons to even adopt the given like model of pedagogies in general. I would need motivation for that as a concept,
Mm.
not intrinsically but extrinsically. We're just going to talk
No,
about the we could just say internal and external distinction.
Yeah, no. When I was like defining pedagogy for you, I just had like some sort of like blunder, like I misspoke. Like basically, pedagogy is gonna just be like synonymous in this case with some sort of motivator. Sorry. So it's not gonna be exclusive of any other like types of motivation in this pantheon, right? It's just gonna be inclusive of all. So just like any sort of motivator for us having like these defeasible reasons for Kojo like beating Sukuna. Am I muted? Hello, did I cut out?
No, we can still hear you. You're good.
You're fine.
Hold on, give me okay, wait, hold on, give me a second. But just to be clear, what I'm arguing is that when you say pedagogies, you define pedagogies as a type of
Yeah, I told you I
motivation
misspoke.
that's going to fall under. Are you done? You said that it's going to fall under the set of motivations, and I just take motivations to be something that is entailing of given reasons to adopt or some. We could just say criterion under which you would adopt or grant something within the conversational scheme. And if that's the case, then you still aren't motivating that specific realm of motivation. You're just kind of saying that, well, or you're even getting some like um meta like I guess motivation, as you might want to put it, or some meta justification. You're just kind of saying that we have like these reasons to adopt, and the reasons to adopt is that the concept exists. But I don't even grant that to be some motivation. I don't grant the
That
apparatus there under which you're going to be operating under. So you would need to motivate that type of talk.
and that's trivially self-defeating because if I just defined like pedagogy just to be like synonymous with any sort of like means for giving some sort of motivation, and you ask me to invoke some sort of motivation. If you don't grant that the motivation itself, which is in the form of pedagogy, even like exists or is, has any sort of like potency within the conversation, then invoking it, I mean, obviously wouldn't work. You know, I'm done. Hello?
You can hear it. I think yours just cut off.
Yo, bro, 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 haram.
Okay, my bad. I had to answer a call, but what'd you say?
Yeah. What should we call it? I just think trying to invoke like some sort of burden of proof request, right? Like considering like a motivator is gonna be like trivially self-defeating when like applied to this conversation. Granted that you don't like grant any sort of like potency within the conversation when considering like a pedagogy, because I just defined a pedagogy as being synonymous with any sort of means of like motivation, like a motivator, I guess you could say.
Okay, if you say that it's self-defeating because you define pedagogies as motivation itself, then I can just collapse all of that by asking why is it the case that we should grant the semantic apparatus that's being implemented here? Because obviously, when you talk about motivation, I don't grant that it's going to be able to be equivocated with the types of talks that I'm engaging with when I talk about motivation. So you need to like give reasons to believe in that as well. Also, additionally speaking, when we talk about things about asking for motivation or why it's going to be something contradictory, it's just going to fall into the same collapse that when you talk, like we're going to have different, like differentiating, we could just say inspections of the given like terminology. And if that's going to be the case, then I'm only asking why is it going to be the case that unless you can give the argument for why we're going to have this, like we could just say this collaboration of like semantics that when I ask for a term or I question a term, it's going to be self-defeating in sort of the conversation. I won't even grant second off, or rather third off, that when we talk about like self-defeating is it's going to be the type of thing which is problematic, at least in the I mean the lightweight sense, because you can bring up multiple things which quote unquote might be self-defeating, but I don't even take it to be the case that they're going to be problematic for inquiry. Like maybe it's going to be the case that I want to collapse one of the concepts that I'm talking about as well, insofar as it's going to hurt more when you get them collapsed, insofar as me getting them collapsed. So it's going to be another thing you have to answer to. Additionally, I don't think you're actually attacking the argument that I laid out for the initial proposition, which is that Gojo is stronger than Sukuna. And just to be clear, I just said that we have these defeasible reasons. I'm just gonna go forward in the conversation because again, you haven't really given any sort of defeasibility mechanism operative there. So if that's gonna be the case, then I don't take it to be the case that the reasons are gonna be. We could just say fluid in nature. They're going to be static, and if they're static in the conversation, then we're going to hold to them being some sort of proportion of some given justification constraint. And if they purport that type of thing, then my position is justified. Via you are you agreeing to the conditional. So do you have anything else you want to say, or can we wrap it up here? Because I don't think you're going to say anything else of substance after.
Yeah, no, when you just said that you don't grant like semantical entailment, I applied to the word. You don't see any like motivator to grant that. Um, that's also going to be self-defeating. As for why self-defeating is going to be something that's quote unquote problematic, I don't think it's problematic as long as the initial proposition you're like trying to have some sort of burden of proof to prove is going to be like you have some sort of, I don't know, deflationary view, right, where you think it's okay for all of these terminologies to collapse. But if it is the case that you hold this like deflationary view, right, it's just going to be the case that the initial proposition that you agreed to debate me on, which is Gojo versus Sukuna, right? You think Gojo beats Sukuna is gonna be like unfulfilled because the reasons for like any sort of motivator having like potency or the conversation isn't granted, and your argument's contingent on these motivators. No, not specifically those motivators, but the motivators as some sort of mechanism for means of justification. And as for me not being able to progress or bring anything substantive, I'm gonna need some sort of like definition for substantive. And what should we call it? You not believing that I'm gonna progress any further than this like conversation is gonna be just like a doxastic stake. I grant that you have the doxastic stake, but I don't grant any potency towards like the actual conversation itself.
Yeah, I'm glad that you learned what dysastic states were today by future. So you needed the like, I guess the like we could just say relevancy to explicate the word, but you didn't have to do that. We all understand that I hold to the view that you aren't going to progress the conversation, which you surprisingly didn't. Like, just to be clear, the burden that you're trying to invoke is that when I talk about motivation, it's going to be the type of thing I can't question due to the self-defeating collapse. You need to address me saying that self-defeat is going to be the type of thing which I don't even grant is going to be problematic insofar as it's going to posit some vicious activity on the argument. You just kind of, I guess, ignored that because it was something beyond your comprehension, or maybe it was something you feared attacking, which is fine. You also didn't attack how when I question words, it's going to be the type of thing that I could just collapse the domain by being an eliminativist about a concept, but it not hurt the argument. Again, you didn't attack that either. I also just asked you to motivate the semantic apparatus there. If I ask you to motivate the type of concept that backs your understanding of these given words, such as maybe some semantic scheme or these type of things, then you're not motivating those things. It's just going to collapse the original argument you gave, which is that I cannot question these things. So that's a blatant just dodge and duck. And I understand that you're not going to want to get hit with any of these haymakers, because if you concede to another point, you just lose the debate, because all of these are attacking the underpinnings of your given argumentation model. If that's going to be the case, then I don't have any reasons to even go forth in the conversation. And again, I already gave the reasons for why my proposition is justified. I already gave the models, the judge or anyone that is going to watch the recording can also track them. So I'm going to take my hands off you a little bit and just let you see if you can fish for them really quickly. But besides that, you didn't give any actual like attack relation to what I said. And I don't even think that when you talk about burden invocation, it's going to be the type of thing that's actually directly attacking what I'm talking about when I talk about, burden invocation. I don't grant that either. And I also don't think you posit any sort of attack relation to what I'm saying. So you can go ahead and motivate that apparatus as well. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Concerning what should we call it? Any sort of like calculations, I might like invoke on you. Despite me not being like any I don't know, familiar with like any of Dung's teachings, I'm gonna need like some sort of I don't know, motivator for attack relations being having any sort of potency within the conversation for one. Secondly, I'm gonna need like some sort of motivator for your anecdotes of me not being able to progress any further or having any sort of lapse in potency within the conversation are going to be quote unquote reliable. And granted that, what should we call it? I don't see how you've sufficiently proven the proposition of Gojo over Sukuna. You haven't provided any sort of manga scan, which is obviously going to be like some sort of model that you brought up to be some sort of motivator for the initial prop. So yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, that was a very bad like shadow box. You assuming that I need to post a manga scan to justify the argument is really embarrassing, and I'm just gonna flag that for anyone who may watch the recording. Just to be clear, when we talk about motivation, I don't even grant that the evidentialist account I brought up is going to be the sole motivator. That I brought up multiple justification models. I brought up Bayesian epistemology. I also brought up the probability model regarding Bayesianism, and I also brought up things like phenomenal conservatism. So you saying, "Oh well, you didn't show a manga panel, therefore you haven't justified anything," that's just a very D1 level tactic, and I will will obviously flag that for anyone who's watching or recording that you are getting embarrassed right now. Just to be clear, when we talk about reasons, insofar as granting a proposition within the context of the conversation, I'm just going to be saying that we have these defeasible reasons, and you haven't triggered any defeasibility mechanism insofar as the types of reasons I'm invoking within the conversation are going to be the types that fail. If that's going to be the case, then I'm just going to be liberating, or I'm going to be adopting this sort of justification that's going to liberate the non-justification. If that's going to be the case, I'm going to be taking to some. We could just say some negation or maybe some metapistemological eliminativism about the types of justification models that you're going to be invoking. So to cover that front, I'm just going to be saying that. To cover the next one about motivation, again, when you talk about motivation, I don't grant that it's going to be synonymous in the types of talks that I'm invoking or employing. You need to motivate that, and then we could just say internally speaking, when you talk about your given motivational model, I don't even think that it's not going to be the type of thing that doesn't obtain in your motivational model. So you need to motivate that as well, because I think that when we talk about motivation, or at least when the layman, aka you, talks about motivation, it's going to be the types of things that are just going to grant some reasons in order to believe in a proposition. I already gave the reasons to believe in the proposition. In fact, I named them multiple times. They're called the feasible reasons, and the reasons were just the types of things that we talk about when we talk about these fictional battles. That was also mentioned. You aren't tracking. Again, just to be clear, let me see what else did I check. Yeah, you also said that I would need to give some reasons to adopt Dung. Yeah, I'm just going to be invoking some IBE talk here, and I'm going to say in the heavyweight and the lightweight, since it's both going to be compatible with the given dialogue structure that's formed so far. When we talk about in the heavyweight sense of an IBE, there is no other competitor, and we talk about in the lightweight sense, it is going to be the case that since the conditional, if there is no competitor, then it is going to be the case that it's the only thing which is static in the conversation. Then that conditional is going to supersede it to another conversation. I mean, another conditional where it's going to be the case that if it has the only competitor with actual instantiation, then it's the only competitor that is used for the conversation. So if you have some other competitor, then you can bring it up. I don't think you know what a theory argumentation is, though. So I wouldn't be surprised like if you can't counter that. And just to be clear, when you talk about things like justification or motivation or these type of acceptability conditions, I'm gonna need you to justify those type of things as well, because I don't even grant them. And just to be clear, it's gonna be an attack relation because you can't you can't accept it within your conflict-free scheme. I don't grant that you can. You need to motivate why you can do that. And also, when we talk about the types of things that are gonna be talking about meta justification or meta, we can just say motivation. I would need you to motivate that apparatus as well, because I don't even grant that your conceptual scheme can even eliminate these type of concepts without conceding to me. I also don't grant that when we talk about the Foogii and future self-reference scheme, it's going to be the type of thing which is defeated. I'm also going to give the feasible reasons for why if God exists and you lost this debate, and I'm also going to give the feasible reasons for why this entire VC thinks you're getting slammed after you reply to everything I said, though. So go ahead, also dismiss everything you said.
Yeah, concerning like the defeasible reasons for the initial given prop, that's just utterly circular. I already questioned the existence of those anyways. And secondly, when talking about why my I don't know, paradigm of what should we call it, motivation is going to be synonymous with your given paradigm of motivation, it's just going to be the case that it's going to be an intended semantical entailment behind the words if we don't grant some sort of intended semantical entailment via my self-anecdote. It's just truly going to be the case that I don't know, any given proposition or statement is just going to explode into being independent of some presupposed superseding soundness. And then lastly, just because I can't, well, no, not lastly, but just because I can't give some sort of substantiation for any sort of competitor hypothesis for your theory of argumentation, that's not going to be indicative of the initial theory of argumentation being some sort of like, I don't know, truth tracking ontological affirmant, because trivially it could be the case that what do you call it? There's just some unknown theory of argumentation that supersedes yours, and if that's the case, then you choosing dung or whatever is going to be just some sort of arbitrary metric for scaling how you like debate or trying to like figure out how you debate and reason debates like that. Thirdly, wait, no. Fourthly, concerning what should we call it? Like me having the potency to be able to produce any sort of like conceptual scheme. It's obviously going to be the case that I'm able to have some sort of conceptual scheme because modal rationalism is true. And if it's the case that modal rationalism is true, then my self-anecdotes of any sort of conceptual scheme are obviously going to be, what should we call it, acted upon within the debate. Otherwise, it just collapse into being self-defeating from your position, because obviously saying that I can't uphold some sort of conceptual scheme, or the hypothesis that I could not be upholding some sort of conceptual scheme, is going to be a conceptual scheme itself. So I just need you to respond to all of that, and then.
Oh boy. So here's what we're gonna do. we're gonna turn the little Garo mode on, right? We're gonna debate just like Foogii here. So it's gonna be the case that when you talk about these types of talks that are gonna be indicative of burden invoking, I'm gonna be negating that type of talk. I don't even grant that when you talk about these given talks or these given concepts, they're gonna be the type of things which are going to be inflicting upon my argument. You also said that I'm gonna be some modal rationalist. Well, I don't even grant that because it's gonna be the case that when we talk about the given talks regarding modality, I'm just being a modal eliminativist about these types of talks. So oh yeah, wait, hold on. Let me check my chat GPT. Sorry, after so many I just forget my argument. Okay, wait. So I'm back. So just to be clear, when you talk about the types of meta motivation talks that are just going to be referentially inferred from the given justification constraints, it's going to be the case that I don't even grant that. That's going to be something that poses sort of a calculation to what I'm saying. And then again, you didn't even attack me motivating dung. So I could just negate all of that talk and I could collapse it all through dung. And I'm really rapping on the beat because this nigga fully smell like feet. This nigga trash. Nigga smell like ass. So anyways, in totality, I think I can conclude here. He hasn't really attacked anything. And I could dismiss all that with dung. I collapse all that with dung. I could be a mirological nihilist, ontological nihilist, modal eliminativist, conceptually eliminativist, meta epistemic nihilist. I could just be an realist where if I say then I negate all of his arguments. So meta
Bro, poor Foogii.
Bro.
Oh,
All right, guys, so we're dick right. We're dick right
Bro.
by accident. We're dick
Okay,
right by accident. We're dick right by accident. All right,
Go
let him
No,
ahead.
he just
let
said
him get up.
right after. Oh my
Let him get up. Let him get up. Let him get
Bro,
up. Go ahead.
bro,
Go ahead.
bro,
Let him
bro.
get up. Let him get up.
Okay, wait. Okay. So, concerning like modal rationalism, obviously it's gonna be true because it's just any sort of skepticism towards the proposition of modal rationalism is going to assume modal rationalism. If it's not the case that you can conceive of any sort of scheme
I
where
have
modal
these.
rationalism isn't true, then obviously it's not going to be logically possible. If it's not logically possible, then it's either arbitrarily logically possible or it just definitely isn't the case that it's logically possible. And but bro,
Oh
never mind.
God.
Okay, bro, holy thunder.
I can't
Okay,
breathe.
anyway,
I can't look at you.
bro, mute, bro, mute up, bro. Whoever's laughing, right?
This shit is hilarious, bro. Oh
Or
my
no,
God.
whoever's laughing, bro, they gotta mute up, bro. Okay. Anyways, bro, never mind. No, no. Hold on. I'll hold myself back. All right, yeah. You went circular on the points about bro. Okay, bro, bro. You went circular on the points about dung. Bro, one day, bro. Anyways, yeah. I just gave the argument for moral rationalism, and I think you went circular. I think I defeated like all of your assertions accurately. So we can conclude.
Yeah, I definitely grant that it's possible under Foogii semantic scheme, but we're not going to be going under that obviously, because if I do that, then we're going to have another contest, and you're not going to like that. So just to be clear, he tried to implement the shit he got me doing, but we're gonna be implementing some sort of like we could just say these type of like justification models, and these justification models are gonna be the type of thing which are gonna influence the debate in such a way that I win. I already explained why that's the case, and you also said you gave an argument for more like modal rationalism or whatever the fuck you said. When you would need to grant that concept, I don't grant it, and you would need to grant that, or rather prove that the motivation for the concept is going to be the actual thing, which is going to give some sort of motivation that's been instantiated within the conversation. I obviously don't grant that. And obviously, when you say things like justification, I don't grant that. Now we're going to turn back on the Foogii goggles because the guy feels the need to repeat himself. So I think that I defeated your assertions for the argument because I just gave the feasible reasons to trigger the fail mechanism of those given instantiations. So when we talk about modal rationalism, I don't grant it as a concept or its justification or motivation. I'm also going to be talking about the codification and the stratification of the given apparatus and linguistic technology to power that given modal device. So if that's going to be the case, then we're just going to be talking about the haram SpongeBob semantics in which if it is the case that you are a racist, trans, fat, black piece of shit, then you lose. And since you don't follow in those parameters, not only do you not lose, but you also don't win. But that's a contradiction. So God exists. God exists. Then I win. There's the argument. And just to be clear, I'm making these black flashes on you. Just to be clear, I'm also gonna see if Ernest can get online. Because if he comes to the debate, it's gonna be too funny. Hold on, give me a second. Oh yeah, also I wanted to address something he said that I didn't give motivation for dung under the IBE expression. That's just false. Because when you talk about like inference for best explanation, you see me saying that there's going to be some reasons to adopt the view granted the data over these other like theories or rivaling hypotheses. And if there are no rivaling hypotheses, then under a lightweight and heavyweight sense of the term, it's just going to trivially follow. But hold on, let me see. Let me see if Ernest joins me, bro. Oh, he can talk now, by the way. I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, concerning your contention with modal rationalism, I already gave the argument for why that can't happen, and then concerning what should we call it, the argument for God existing, therefore you winning this debate or whatever, I don't grant that. I need some sort of like motivator for that, and yeah, that's it. I think you answered on everything else.
I mean, I don't even grant that circularity is going to be the type of thing which posits some sort of relevant attack relation. What I'm saying, I also don't grant circularity as a concept, at least in the way that you use it. Motivate that. I also don't grant that when we talk about the types of talks that are going to be involving the given apparatus of the given motivational talks that we're going to be talking about it. Because maybe when you say motivation is going to be the type of thing that you're giving me a motivational speech on how to get out of the bed in the morning. But since you're such a sleeper debater, I'm not going to get out of the bed in the morning, so I don't even grant that's motivation. So you need to give reasons to even adopt that given model. I don't grant it. And it's just going to be the case that when we talk about the given, we can just say concept employments or maybe some conceptual engineering or ethics that I'm going to be evoking here, we need to give reasons as to why we shouldn't adopt that. But I already gave reasons to adopt it. And you said I went circular on everything else, but one, not only did I motivate the reasons as to why my syllogism, which I gave in the very beginning, which you can't recapitulate because your memory is terrible, goes through, but I also gave reasons as to why not only the accounts that I gave, which can be evidentialism, phenomenal conservatism, and some Bayesian epistemology as well as Bayesian account of probability are going to go through, but also the types of talks that are going to be implemented when we go over the types of strengths that are just going to be quantified within the given apparatus that I'm involving here. So if you don't say anything after this relevant, then we can conclude, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Just concerning all of your quote unquote motivations for the initial syllogism, you just named like several facets
Foogii, you
of
fucking suck, bitch.
I'm sorry, Trouble. I'll try to better myself next time. Anyways, concerning all of the initial motivators you gave for these facets of like epistemology and philosophy, being some sort of like motivator for God existing, I don't grant any of those. I don't know why they have any sort of potency within the debate itself. And even if I have some sort of lapse of knowledge, I don't grant any potency independent of my capacity for knowledging about things. And then concerning freaking my paradigm of motivation, I just said earlier that it would be identical to yours, and then you didn't address the argument for why it's identical. So if you believe I'm not making any sort of substantive argument, then we can conclude right here. It's fine. Or you can make some sort of like last statement there.
Okay, well, I guess if I had to make a last like set of statements, it would be shout out drugs organized, shout out dry analyst, shout out Foogii, shout out High Life, shout out Master, shout out Superior, shout out Classical, shout out High Life, shout out Mortified, shout out Trouble, shout out Sax, shout out Sparky, and shout out Speed, as well as shout out Marky, and shout out Monster. All of my brothers, we're gonna get together and we're gonna give a codified judgment on who won this debate. So let's get it.
He didn't say my name with a fucking traitor.
Yo, shout out Sparky Henchman, bro. Shout out to random Sparky Henchman, bro.
Wait,
Shout
someone
out
stop
to
the
this
right.
fucking band, bitch.
Yo, shout out that Sparky.
/save.
Wait, what?